Okay, welcome. So, tonight I want to talk about increasing our motivation for things that are important to us, how to stay motivated. Um, yeah, this has been a really important part of my life and my practice, increasing my motivation um, and passion for things that are important to me. And honestly, I'm going to be speaking through a Buddhist lens. Determination, resolve, discipline are really important values in Buddhism. Determination is considered a parami. It's also energy and determination. They're enlightenment factors. It's also part of wise effort. So it shows up a lot. This is the Buddha in the Middle Length Discourses. You may have heard me say this quote before because I love it so much. But he says, though skin, sinews, and bones wither away, though flesh and blood of my body may dry up, I shall not give up my efforts till I have attained whatever is attainable by heroic perseverance, energy, and endeavor. Um, so, I think the Buddha was a pretty disciplined, intense guy. He knew how to put his determination to whatever it was that he wanted to go after, and he did not let up. And as we know, he practiced for nearly 7 years intensely with meditation, and then he finally reached the heroic end of awakening. But I just want to say that remaining engaged and motivated for any particular thing is hard. And it's a practice. And I do believe that motivation wanes. So motivation will go up and down. It really does. Think about anything that you've ever chosen to be engaged in. You'll see that sometimes your motivation is really strong, and other times your motivation is really weak, right? But what helps you stay determined even when your motivation is weak? Because your motivation comes and goes, just like emotions come and go, right? So to even expect ourselves to stay intensely motivated throughout can be an effort in striving and disappointment. So psychologists define motivation as the process that arouses, sustains, and regulates our behavior. But it's what turns us on, it's what gets us going, and what gets us moving. Right? So we have to figure out how to arouse our motivation when it's waning, right? We don't need to arouse motivation and determination when it's strong, right? So typically motivation really develops through a naturally mutually reinforcing cycle of desire and then reward, right? You desire something, you go for it, and then you get rewarded by the reward of your effort comes through. You want a garden, you decide you want to grow some zucchini or whatever it is that you want to grow, and you do put all your effort into it. And then when you're eating this delicious meal that came out of the ground, you're rewarded, right? And that motivates you to want to do it again next year, especially if you loved those particular vegetables or fruits or whatever you grew. But it can be hard. Particularly with something where our reward doesn't come right away. Like, can I say meditation? You sit there to meditate, and it can be rather frustrating at times because the mind can be jumping around, screaming ridiculous things, trying to distract you in every possible way. It can get boring, it can get lonely, you can get tired, you want to sleep and feel like you're just head bobbing, right? Or maybe you decide to, or maybe, I've decided to lose weight and be healthy and, add extra something to my regimen, more vegetables or something. We don't always see the results right away. And when we don't see the results right away, our motivation can really wane. I've seen so many people come to our Sangha excited, oh, I want to meditate. And they come pretty enthralled and excited. And I remember myself at the beginning of my practice, right? It was hard, but I was really, when I started seeing all these, started having all these insights into the nature of my crazy mind. I saw all these habit patterns that were not healthy and not helpful. I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. All these light bulbs were turning on. I was really excited. I couldn't wait to delve into the next layer of whatever was going to arise. So I was curious, I was engaged, I was present. And this went on for several years, where I'd occasionally have a really deep, profound awarenesses and insights. And then I went through the dry period of, well, I went through a lot of difficult periods, painful periods. Another period I went through a time when, for some reason, my salivary glands, this is when I was decided to start salivating, right? So I'd sit there meditating, want to swallow. Oh, and I felt like my swallow was so loud that the whole universe could hear it, right? And then I'm like, don't swallow again, don't swallow again. Of course, what happens if you tell yourself not to swallow? You're going to salivate more, right? So I went through about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years of being tortured by saliva and swallowing saliva and swallowing. But that passed too. I went through anxiety was my main hindrance of choice. So I went through working with that, a lot of difficult periods. And during that time, my motivation would be really weak and then other times, nothing was happening. Nothing. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out, thinking, emoting, breathing in, breathing in, like, years of that. I'm like, what's going on? Nothing's happening. Right? So what's going to bring us to keep coming back when things are no longer novel? They're no longer exciting. They're no longer different. Or we keep having the same insights, the same territory, right? When we get in a relationship and we see that this person is saying the same silly jokes, the same things interest them every day. What keeps coming back to be engaged, motivated, to be present, to be juiced, right? So when my motivation has waned, it's usually a few different things that might be there when I explore, because I think it's really important to explore what's going on, right? Oftentimes my motivation wanes when the timing isn't right for something, right? I want to go to the beach or to go visit my daughter or somewhere in another state or to do something, or want to take up a new hobby. Sometimes the timing just isn't right. The factors that need to come together are not coming together. And so my motivation wanes because the timing really isn't right. So I have to wait till when certain factors come together, right? Put it on the back burner for now. Sometimes my motivation wanes because there's a part of me that realizes that this isn't right for me right now. Not only just not the right timing, but this endeavor, or this habit or hobby or whatever that I thought I might want to take up would actually not serve me in my life moving forward, right? And other times I'm still this new habit or whatever it is I'm trying to develop would serve me. It is the right time, but I've lost my motivation. My motivation has waned. So then how can I increase my determination and once again ignite maybe some motivation, right? Sometimes and oftentimes my motivation wanes because there's something that needs to be mindfully explored, right? If I have resistance to something, like I try to do yoga a few times a week in the morning. Sometimes it's the last thing in the world I want to do is get on my mat. Like the last thing I want to do. So what do? I sit down for a couple minutes and I just sit with my resistance to wanting to do my yoga, right? I locate the resistance in my body. I feel all the sensations of the resistance. I allow the resistance to be there. And I give it some attention, some loving attention for a few minutes. And then I jump on the mat and do it, right? So if you have resistance to meditating or resistance to eating healthy, following your healthy whatever regimen it is, you might want to sit down and mindfully rein on and explore your resistance itself, the blockage, right? And you might need some professional help with if there's some kind of trauma that's in your way, some major blockage, you might need some extra guidance or help with that, right? So working with the blockage, the resistance to self can increase my motivation, increase my determination, right? Connect to your values, connecting to my values. If whatever I'm motivated in is deeply rooted in some kind of a value, something that it's really important to me, I'll connect to that value, it'll increase my motivation, right? So if I want to eat healthier, if I'm trying to maintain a healthy diet, I like to tap into my value of non-harming. I have a really strong value in non-harming and loving myself and others. Non-harming and loving myself and others. A really strong value. It's what brought me, connected me to Buddhism to begin with. Right? And that includes my body. Non-harming and promoting health. If I'm just wanting to lose weight to look good, it's an egoic agenda. Ooh, I want to look good. Well, that's going to wane. It's going to come and go because how I care about how I look is an egoic agenda which comes and goes, right? But my values always stay present. That's why you want to connect to your values. They don't go away when you go deep within. The other thing that helps me is connecting to my faith and confidence. Connecting to your faith and confidence in that something positive will come out of this, right? If you have been able to create healthy habits in the past and been motivated until they become a habit, whatever you're doing, then you can tap into that. Well, I've done this before when I quit caffeine or when I changed this habit or that. We've all had success before. So we have faith and confidence in our ability to do this because we have done it before, just in other areas, right? So really connecting to faith and confidence in ourselves, that can increase our motivation too. And Dipa Ma, if you ever studied Dipa Ma, the Sri Lankan woman, I used to listen to stories from other people that sat with Dipa Ma, and I read her books, and she used to say, "Don't be lazy. Don't be lazy." She was like just do it. Nike, just do it. So what helps us to not be lazy? That almost sounds kind of abusive in a way, but that motivates me. I hear Dipa Ma's voice, don't be lazy. But intention is a really important part of our practice, right? Setting our intention. And you want your intention to be aligned with your highest values, right? These can really help too. Connecting to the pain and suffering that not when you don't have this habit, what that causes, right? For instance, my newest habit now that I'm been working on developing, and it's going really well. The past year, I've been intentional about completing what I start. Completing what I start. I've got, ADD background, and I would find myself with like 10 in-process projects throughout my house, and I would go and start to do this, and then I'd find myself doing something else and start to do something else and so it was, chaos, all these incompleted projects everywhere, and it was causing me a lot of stress. Do you know what I'm talking about? So I connected to all of the stress that came from having all of these incomplete projects going on in my life. And that pain and suffering I didn't want to feel anymore. So I became intentional about, okay, completion is really important. Why is completion important? Not only does it reduce the stress, but how do I feel when a project or something I'm doing is complete? I feel so much better in my body, heart, and mind, right? I eat dinner before. In the past, I'd cook a meal and then I would be like, oh, I'll clean the dishes later. And the kitchen would be a mess, right? And so how can I fully relax when the kitchen's a mess because I haven't cleaned up all the dishes? Now, when I cook, I'm washing the dishes as I go along, and I don't leave the kitchen until they're all done, and I feel good. I can sit and enjoy my meal without this weight on my back, So seeing the benefits, do you really feeling in the body the benefits? When you practice this new habit, don't just rush through your new habit of hanging your clothes up after the dryer finishes, or whatever your new motivation is. You've meditated, you've gone for your daily walk, whatever it is, new habit that you're working on staying motivated with. After you do this, or while you're doing it, particularly after, take a moment, pause, really feel what it's like to have completed this. Feels so good. Yes. Little pat on the back. I did my walk. I practiced my piano. I've read, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do each day, right? Gratitude journal, looking back and feeling how good it feels to have done it. That's a positive reinforcement, We need to do that. Otherwise, it'll just be drudgery. And if it's drudgery, I can tell you the mind will resist like crazy. But if it's like, wow, that feels really good, yay, celebrate it, the mind will be happy and you'll be drawn to doing it again, right? When I fix my bed in the morning and the bathroom counters are all cleared off and everything's clean, the bedroom's looking beautiful, I don't just run out of there. I turn around and look at it and go, oh, look how pretty everything looks, until it becomes a regular habit, right? Or whatever it is, the habit you're trying to set as a regular habit. Things that are really big, like meditating every day, or doing your yoga practice, or saying nice things to people, whatever habits you're trying to form, big ones. I think having the lifetime intention, the big lifetime intention, the one where you imagine yourself on your deathbed looking back over your life, right? The Buddha said, when you're dying, you want to practice loving kindness. When you're dying, you want to practice metta. When you're dying, you want to lay there and think of all of the good, wholesome qualities you've cultivated. You want to remember all the beautiful, nice, loving things you've done for people and for yourself, right? And he said to immerse your whole mind with these wholesome qualities as you're dying about for yourself and others? Well, we need to actually cultivate and do some things in our life that we can feel really good about on our deathbed, right? So I like to remember that I want to have a bunch of things. I want to live my life in a way each day that I can be like, if today I die, I can feel good about how I live today. Yeah, I don't want to be beset by constant challenge and struggle and suffering. I want to conquer and face the pain body that wants to be felt, and then really nurture and take care of the beautiful qualities that when they arise, and also create the environment for them to arise more often. So, what are your aspirations? Right? What really is important to you? I remember I was in my 30s. I had 2 young kids. I was a single parent, working a lot, meditated every day, but I just thought I felt like a hamster in a hamster wheel. That I got up, I took care of my kids, I went to work, I worked my tail off, I came home, I cooked dinner, I meditated, I tucked my kids in, I went to sleep. I got up, I felt like all I did was work, work, eat, sleep. Work, eat, sleep. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, anybody been on that hamster wheel? No. Right? And it struck me, what if I die and this has been my whole life? The hamster wheel. Do I want to die like all I did was work and take care of people, other people? I mean, what? This struck me hugely, that I want to live a life that's more meaningful. And I didn't know what that meant, right? What is a meaningful life? What is a life on purpose? What's a life when you lay down on your deathbed, you can feel good about that you did use your determination and your perseverance for self-transformation, right? That you went down the path of peace, down the path of love and liberation, instead of the path of revenge and fear and hatred. So if those kind of thoughts help motivate you, I know that they have to me as well. Yeah. So, and go for it. Whatever it is. And we're going to fall off of the wagon. We're gonna have many failures. We're gonna change direction. That's part of the practice. That's part of the path. So get up back on the wagon when we're ready again. Get up back on the wagon when we're ready again. When the timing is right. And practice patience and self-compassion when we're stuck. Right? And we're going to get stuck from time to time. I found myself going through my move. My best friend was dying, and I was taking care of her. Then I was taking care of her cats. I was getting exhausted, and I started stopping at the hospital cafeteria and getting Diet Coke. Well, you have to understand, Diet Coke and I have a long history of addiction, right? But since I was so stressed out, I was like, oh, Diet Coke, it'll be okay. Well, next thing I know, I found myself once again addicted to Diet Coke, and I couldn't get off of it, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. This is not the first time I found myself back in the Diet Coke aisle, addicted. So I knew I was going to quit when I was good and ready to quit. And I was practicing self-compassion and setting my intention to quit right? And waiting for the motivation to culminate. And I finally did. After I moved, the timing was right, and I was able to quit again. Just because it's not good for me. It might be good for you or anyone else, but I don't do well with it. It wakes me up at 3 in the morning. When I'm on Diet Coke, I wake up at 3:30 every morning going. When I'm off of it, I don't. But anyhow, so just get back on the wagon again and again and again. And remember the Buddha's quote, if the end is attainable by human effort, I will not rest or relax until it is attained. Let my skin, sinews, and bones remain. Let my flesh and blood dry up. I will not stop the course of my effort until I win that which may be won by human ability, human effort, and human exertion. And be kind to yourself along the way. Yes. And I would love to hear more about your process with what keeps you motivated, what stops you, how to keep your determination going. And thank you for your kind, caring attention.